I'm Amy Easter, and I think I've been on the committee 2 years. And I've been involved in biking since I moved back to Winston in 2014, but also a big proponent for likewise any kind of active transportation, getting away from cars, making our community more livable for people. And I'll send it over livable for people. And I'll send it over to Michael Hosey.
Hey everyone, Michael Hosey, affiliated with the National Cycling Center. I highly involved in a lot of cycling programs and activities, events. Definitely a recreational cyclist. I've done a few races. I hope maybe once I'm an empty nester, I might do a lot more commuting. Yeah, I've been on the committee since 4 years, I think, since the inception of it. So it's been a while, but yeah, pleasure to be on and working towards more enhanced cycling community.
If you want to pass it on to someone else, we'll popcorn it.
All right, let's check on Ned over there.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? I am Ned. I have moved here after college in 1997 and just fallen in love with Winston-Salem, and it's definitely our home. I have a wife and 2 kids and several pets. Professionally, I've mostly worked in the nonprofit sector for most of my career, and currently help with a nonprofit and consult with nonprofits. So I do that, as well as I work for a bank and do their community relations at Piedmont Federal Bank. So I'm also kind of a pseudo banker, and also an owner of a business in the Old Salem district. So I have a particular love for our history and this part of our city. I'm sitting in lot 63 right now, and it's just a beautiful place. And I'm excited that part of the scope of the work that we're doing is to make this place a little bit more walkable and pedestrian friendly. So I'm excited about that particular activity. Recreationally, I do love to bike, but I'm more of a runner. So I average over 2,500 miles of pounding pavement a year. So I've touched a lot of ground in Forsyth County, and really excited about finding ways that we can promote and increase our greenway systems and explore opportunities to make this more friendly for folks who are bikers and walkers. So I feel like I'm with the right people, and glad to be here. So, all right, Hunter, how about you?
Thanks, Ned. Hey, everyone. I'm Hunter Stazak, transportation engineer for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. Been here now about 3 years. Always like to drop by the BPMAC. Not as involved in the BPMAC these days, but I am your point of contact when it comes to things like federal funding and our prioritization process, and always trying to find good ways to incorporate multimodal elements, specifically bicycle and pedestrian elements, into our projects, and look forward to continuing good work with you guys. With that, I think I'm going to pass things off to John.
You're still on mute, John.
All right, let's try it again. My name is John Gunkel. I've been with the committee about 6 months, I think. I'm a very active cyclist. I restore bicycles. In my previous life at FedEx, I was a transportation and planner and forecasting. And I worked at a bike co-op for a number of years. So I've been kind of active in the bicycle sphere for a while. Let's see, I'll pass it on to who's here. Sharon.
Good morning, all. Thanks, John. I am Sharon Nelson, and I apologize. I'm on a different computer today. I do not have a camera, so I can see you and you can't see me. But Ned, I was actually the part of the founding of the bicycle committee and was chair for the first 2 or 3 years that we were in existence, with Carol as vice chair. I've got a long story about cycling, but a short version is I have had positive and negative experiences riding locally, and was really excited to see this committee form at the time that it did for me personally. It was a very fresh off recovery from being victim of a car crash, being hit on my bike. And anyway, I live in the downtown vicinity, very close to a lot of the greenways, excited to watch the extensions and work being done. And professionally, I am currently a full-time chief development officer for a large economic development, minority and women economic development nonprofit that serves the East Coast. And then I also am a consultant for nonprofits in strategy, grant writing, and other work. Been in Winston since '94, I believe. I moved here from Boone. Who has not gone? I chimed in late, so Michael, have you gone? Okay.
I can go.
Oh,
morning,
Ben.
everybody. That
Excellent.
works. I'm Ben Wober. I am your main staff support for the committee. I'm the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator here at the Winston-Salem Department of Transportation and the MPO. I do all things bicycling, walking, active transportation, micromobility, scooters, so pretty much anything on 2 wheels or 2 feet. So just kind of excited to hear everybody's perspective and welcome new members to the committee. Let's see, is there anyone? Jeff, are you here?
I am here. Thank you, Ben. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Ansler. I'm the Director of Transportation. I do not serve on the committee, but I certainly support Ben and the team here at Winston-Salem DOT. And I think my primary role is to just stay informed with the work that you guys do to help inform me and leadership staff of the city on project development, project need, and overall needs of the community for active transportation elements. And so I will stand ready to be advised by Ben and continue to supporting the work that you all do. So thank you, Ben.
I'll go ahead.
Thank you.
I guess I'm last but not least. My name is Latricia Caesar. Sorry for being off camera. I met Miss Carol. I work for the School of Medicine, and I met Miss Carol doing a walk audit with Councilman Scipio, and talking to her, she and I, struck up conversations, and in the conversation, I kind of gave her a background about, how I was really excited to be part of the audit because I've lost 2 small cousins to vehicular accidents. And so I really had a passion about helping to provide safe walkways for pedestrians. And so she invited me to the committee, and I've been here almost 2 years now.
Wow, I can't believe it's 2 years already. That's wonderful. That's great. Thank you. I think the only person I hadn't heard from was Larry Bell. Maybe Larry's just there as support. Are you?
I think he's just recording. I don't know if he's.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, he's the one selling. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, super. Well, thank you all for joining and being part of this committee and its work. We're excited to have Ryan joining us. We got a jam-packed agenda. There's not a guest speaker, which is kind of good because we have a ton to cover. For those who joined late, I'm helping facilitate as Carol's out on vacation. So bear with me. We'll kick it off with the October 9th meeting minutes. I believe those were sent out via email. Did anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections for the October minutes? Okay. Hearing none, I'll let Ben, if you want to, do we need to do a formal motion or do we just ask for approval one by one?
Yeah, does someone want to do a formal motion? And then we'll do a roll call
I'll
vote.
move. Sharon moves
Thanks,
to
Sharon.
accept.
Okay.
Do we have
is
a
there
second?
I'll second.
All right, I'll go through the names. Ned, how do you vote? Approve? Brandon?
Approve.
Oh, Brandon, I'm sorry. We didn't hear from you earlier. How'd I miss you? We'll continue with the approvals and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Ryan?
Sorry.
Approve.
Trissa?
Approve.
John?
Approve.
Michael, you second, right?
Yes, approve.
That is unanimous.
Thank you all. All right, Brandon, so sorry I missed you. I was looking through my chat and I must have just missed you. You want to tell us a little about yourself real quick?
Yeah, no worries. I came on a little late and I'm dropped in Greensboro, but Brennan Hillis, I've been on the committee for about a year and a half. Active runner, cyclist. I have a 6-year-old, and live in Ardmore, so walk to a lot of playgrounds and parks and whatnot. So really why my interest to join the committee. Professionally, I work as a marketing director for Duderman Law Group, and been in Winston for about 13 years.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much. Moving along to some of the action items, we've got the committee's recommendations regarding the connection of the strollway eastward to the Long Branch Trail. We've talked about this the last couple meetings, and I believe we made some revisions to the letter based on feedback, and we're bringing it back hopefully for final approval from the committee. So asking if anybody had any further questions, comments, requested edits for the recommendation for proposed routes to connect the strollway to the Long Branch Trail. This would be going to the city, to Jeff, I think, first and foremost. Anything on that, y'all?
I had one tiny little thing. It might not even be anything. On number 1, when you talk about hesitant to walk along Patterson Avenue due to secluded nature, it might be beneficial to put the block number.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know if that's, but that way they just know
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Good call.
I think that's a great edit. Any other feedback? All right. Shout out to Carol and Donna for kind of spearheading that work and doing the walk to identify those routes. And thank you to everybody for your feedback on that. I guess, is there a motion to approve this letter?
With that edit. Oh,
With
go
the
ahead,
edit,
John.
yes.
I think John was moving and I'll second you, John.
Yeah, or whatever. It doesn't make any
Either
difference.
way.
Yeah.
Okay, super.
All right, Amy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Brandon?
Approve.
Ned? Approve. Michael? Michael? Still there? Let's go to Ryan.
Approve.
Trissa?
Approve.
Michael, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, approve.
Thanks.
Was there anybody else? Sorry,
That's
I went
it.
to go get my pen. Okay.
It's unanimous.
Just make a note of that one change. So we'll make that change and get it signed and submit it over to the city. Thank you all for that. Next item is the committee's comments on the prioritization 7.0 division needs local input assignment, point assignment. So I don't know if maybe Hunter, just because Ryan is new and we have quite a few letters, if you can give us just the quick and dirty 1 minute overview of what this is, this work is, and then we can discuss the letter.
Sure. So as part of the state's process for deciding what gets programmed in the 10-year transportation improvement program, we go through a process known as prioritization. And at this stage in prioritization, which focuses more on your local needs types of projects, we call them division needs projects because these are all projects that fall within, at the highway division level for NCDOT. Half of the point value in these projects comes from something that we call local input points. And so this time around, there are 72 projects that are eligible to receive these points, but we have only 1,400 points, up to a maximum of 100 points that can be put towards any of these projects. Essentially, if we put local input points towards something, we're saying that this is our priority project. And for the most part, our MPO determines this partially due to safety factors, congestion factors, number of points of interest that are connected by projects, but also whether or not they have local support of their Transportation Advisory Committee and local elected officials. So the recommendation that you see here enclosed are the 15 projects that we're going to put our points towards. If we could, we would put points towards all of them, but then there would be really no point to the process. So we're asking you to look at our recommendation, to give us pointers on which projects you'd like to see receive points, whether you agree with our recommendation, and also if you have any ideas for improving the projects that you see on the list, whether they receive points or not. And I'll leave it there, but happy to answer any questions as you guys go through it.
Yeah, I think that's a great overview. I know, Sharon, you had some input you wanted to share, and welcome to Greg. You joined just a few minutes ago. Sharon, did you want to chime in?
Yes, though I might be looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at the P7 letter on the bike paths. Did we talk same thing, Hunter? Yeah, that none of those cycling paths are part of the projects.
Correct. Yeah. That's
Okay.
one of the feedbacks from
Just
the
making
letter.
sure. Yeah. So for the new folks, one of the things, as noted, this is a new committee. So we've been in 4 years now. We were formed during the pandemic in 2020. There was a bicycle master plan that existed and hadn't really been looked at for a few years. There was also a new walkable Winston-Salem plan that was underway. What the committee here did was go back through the entire bicycle master plan, work across the walkable Winston-Salem plan to prioritize incomplete projects still hanging out there based on specific factors. During the pandemic, the highway shut down. There was a lot of road work that was escalated during the associated businesses closures, all of that kind of thing. So some of our projects could be taken off the list because they've been done based on resurfacing or other activities taking place. But we also then created criteria based on economic access, public transportation access, mobility issues, and that kind of thing. We reprioritized and submitted that back to City Council, the Transportation Committee, and the MPO as well. So there were several presentations that Ben's predecessor and I participated in communicating that out. So I agree with Carol. I strongly recommend that they take those priorities into consideration as they look at these other plans. And Hunter, I know that you know that and agree as well, but yeah, I appreciate that letter and that was caught.
Yep, that's perfect point to bring that up, because yes, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these plans. They take more than a year to do. They get a lot of public input, and they're meant to kind of steer where does the city spend its resources, time, money, equipment, whatever. And so we want to make sure there's alignment, I think, when we do these other processes. So,
yep.
The other thing that was just called out in the letter, in case you just need a refresher, because I know we had quite a few letters rolling around the last couple months, was that, trying to, I don't want to say deprioritize the highway projects, but highway projects have ample funding resources, it seems like. And a lot of the bike ped projects have very limited funding from both the city and the state buckets. And so making sure that we put points towards those is really important. So I'll just stop there. But did anybody have any other feedback on the letters, questions, comments, concerns, edits?
No, I was just going to add, and this has probably been gone over, so if so, I apologize, but it's a complicated thing, because DOT dollars, when the MPO gets Department of Transportation dollars, federal dollars, they can only be spent on certain things. And so a lot of times these bicycle ancillary priorities that we're bringing up really don't have the backing. And so it's these extra grants like we just got for the Long Branch extension, or private funding, like was done with the bridges across Salem Parkway and that kind of thing, where we have to really, really press for that third-party partnership to make sure these things happen and aren't ticked off the list just because there's not dollars to support them in the DOT budget.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing I would offer personally for my advocacy hat is that even if the funding is not there, it is important for groups like this and individual constituencies and organizations to continue to sound the alarm. I don't know, say like we need to adjust. If there's not enough funding, then we need to adjust the funding structures. We need to make sure that people can safely walk, bike, use a wheelchair, take transit in our community. And so even if it's not really feasible always to get what we want, I think it's very important for this committee to continue to speak to it, which I think really Carol drafted this letter, and then we gave some input, and I think she did an excellent job of trying to call those things out. So was there any other feedback on the letter before we see if there's a motion to move it forward? Okay, I will ask if there's a motion to approve the letter for prioritization 7.0 division needs point assignment.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Greg.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And you're our master editor. You didn't have any corrections for this letter?
Not this time.
Oh, wow. That's
100% perfect.
A+. Awesome. All right. Ben, if you can help us do the approvals.
Yeah. John, how do you vote?
Approve.
Amy?
Approve.
Brandon?
Approve.
Michael?
Approve.
Ryan?
Approve.
Sharon?
Approve.
And Ned?
Thumbs up.
All right. Unanimous again.
Wonderful. Thank you all for that. I'm going to just, since we're in letter mode, I'm going to add an item that was not on the agenda, and then we'll come back to the officer elections. Firstly, though, I'll just say holistically on the letter thing, like you might notice, like the committee's writing and submitting quite a few letters this year. And I think that's one of our key strategies for clearly documenting where we stand on things and the backgrounds we bring and the recommendations we have as a committee, because this is a group that is meant to advise city council and city staff on how the community can improve. And so, you know, the city has brought us lots of great guest speakers, and we've had various opportunities for input on plans and other things, these letters are really good ways to formalize and document where we stand on things. And even bring us back, you know, in a year's time or in 2 years' time, we can say, we submitted this letter. How has this happened? Why or why now? How can we improve things? So I think you'll continue to see us submit letters, and unless this committee says, no, this is a waste of our time, we'll probably continue to do that. And so there was one more opportunity that presented itself around input on the 2025 City of Winston-Salem strategic plan. And I don't know if, Ben, you could, if you have insight, just a 30-second overview on this. We're not reviewing it right now. Ben is going to be sending it to the committee via email, hopefully today or soon, because the responses are due by December 2nd, and the committee will not meet before then. So what we're asking everyone to do is review it on your own and then reply back to Ben and Carol if you have edits to the proposed letter or if you approve. So we're going to kind of do an email approval we're trying for. So Ben, if you can just give a quick overview of what this is for, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I haven't been too involved in this process, but it's really a high level kind of view of what the city should be focusing on in the next 4 years. This happens every 4 years, I believe. So it's really kind of covers all things the city is involved in: transportation, housing, just a little bit of everything. So it's just really the city's opportunity to get feedback from citizens about what the city's priorities should be.
Thank you. And I'll just cover the three kind of main bullets that are at the top in the draft letter are about increasing the maintenance budget for sidewalks, trails, greenways, and bike lanes, providing safe access to bus stops, and increasing the number of bus shelters. And then thirdly, review, prioritize, and fund recommended priority routes that Sharon mentioned within the Greenway, bicycle, and pedestrian master plans to improve the safe multimodal transportation of our most vulnerable road users. So those are kind of like the big tickets, and then we go into more detail of that. So be on the lookout in your email for that letter. Please reply to Ben and Carol to say, I think we should revise this, or no, I approve it as is. I'd like us to get that done if we can by November 22nd, ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday, just because I know people start taking vacations and you're just kind of in a different mode. And with it being due on December 2nd, we just need to make sure we get it approved by the committee. So any questions on the letter or its purpose or the process for this one? Okay. Well, thank you for letting us add that in last minute. Moving along, officer elections. So this committee has 2 officer roles, chair and vice chair. Each year at the end of the year, we've been doing a normal election process. Currently, Carol serves as the chair and I'm vice chair, looking to see if there's any interest from, we have several new committee members, if anybody is interested in serving in either of those capacities. Chair is really our leader who's kind of spearheading where do we go and facilitating our meetings each month. Vice chair kind of is a helper, and like I'm doing today, if our chair is out, I help facilitate the meetings. We meet, Carol and I, and actually Michael Hosey as well, because maybe he'll do an officer role one day. Meet once a month before the meeting to kind of plan out what are we going to talk about, what kind of guest speakers do we want to have, are there things we should do now versus in 2 months. So it's not a huge additional lift, though I'll say Carol contributes a lot, but she would probably contribute a lot no matter what role she's in. But if anybody is interested in either of those, and Sharon, yes, you were obviously very involved as our inaugural chair for several years. But I just say that because I don't think it has to be someone who spends 40 hours a week on this committee either. So
true. Very true. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share on that, since you've served in the chair role?
No, you've really said exactly what I've said before, and encouraging people to get involved. You know, we hear these roles and we think, you know, it's going to be a second part-time job or that kind of thing. And I've certainly been engaged in nonprofit boards where that could be the case. The city maintains these in a very structured process. And so the time commitment, agreed that Carol is kind of the Energizer Bunny, and she's gung-ho, I think, on anything she puts her passion towards. But it is not a huge lift, though it is obviously important work, and there are some standing commitments.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. And welcome, Donna. I saw you joined us. So if anybody is interested in serving in either the chair or the vice chair, I would say maybe the vice chair is a good place if you're not as familiar with the committee, or you just want a year to kind of acclimate yourself and observe, and that could be good. If you have experience chairing things, or even if you don't, please feel encouraged. If you'd like to be part of the nomination, then I would contact Carol and Ben. If a committee member would like to nominate someone else, I recommend you speak to that person personally and say, hey, such and such, I think you'd be great. And then let them decide if they're willing or capable, to take that on. So, but we do want probably the same timing, right? Maybe before the Thanksgiving holiday, let you and Carol know if you're interested. And that way, when we come to the December meeting, we can say these people have indicated interest and we can do a formal vote. So any questions? Oh, go ahead.
I do have a question. I hate to ask this with Carol not present, but is she interested in continuing, or is she wanting to step back, or do we know?
I think based on conversations I have had with her, she was willing to do another year as chair, but would like to have someone else transition after that, but is also welcoming of having someone else take over as well. That's, I believe, my interest. Yep. So yeah, she is willing. We've got a lot of great people here, so I'm just saying.
I think we should lock down Carol for as long as possible. That's my recommendation. So if you add another 0 to the 1 year, that'd be fine with me. Keep her going. She's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like our administration as it is. So I like Carol and Amy as number one, vice president and president and CEO and all that sort of stuff. So I'm happy with where we are. I think they do a good job. So I wouldn't advocate any changes at this time. I know Michael's waiting in the wings. Can't wait to get started, but we'll bring him along slowly here. So.
Well, I would also offer too, if there's someone who is interested and maybe just not sure if they would like to start next year, we could do something similar where that person joins our planning calls and we could kind of groom you, so to speak, to make sure you feel comfortable and understand the role, and then in a future time jump into it. But yeah. So do share any thoughts with Ben and Carol, and then we'll do a formal vote for the elections in December. Okie dokie, I'm talking a lot. I'm hoping we can change it. Okay, Ben's coming up. Good. Next thing is informational items. We're talking about getting things nailed down for the 2025 meeting schedule, and did want to touch on the attendance policy, which Ben, if maybe when you email the group the letter for the strategic plan, if you can do that verbiage from the city on their attendance policy. Just want to make sure everybody's aware. We've had more people join. Some of us have been here for a while, might have forgotten, but there is a attendance policy for the city's committees, requiring you to be at a certain percentage of the meetings. We meet monthly, so it means being at pretty large portion of the meetings. I think it's 65%. So I'm not doing math this early, but you need to attend most of the meetings of the monthly meetings. So just making sure that's clear to folks. Obviously things come up and there's conflicts, and we do want to try to make sure we're picking times that work for the vast majority of people. But we do want people to actively participate, and that is the expectation of the city. So Ben will send that out for your awareness. If you have questions, contact Ben about that policy, I guess, and he can answer them or find someone who can. So, but regarding the 2025 schedule, I believe in the next little bit, couple weeks, we'll be sending out a survey to the team just to reacclimate or I should say reassess how folks are feeling about this time of our monthly meeting. Second Wednesday is 8:30. Does that still work for people? What is the feeling on meeting in person a few times a year? We talked about maybe quarterly meeting, having an in-person offering. I know that can be tricky for some people. So looking at if there's a different time when that would be better, and just trying to juggle the fact that we want to be as consistent month to month as possible, but there might be a lot of value in bringing all of us together in person a few times a year. So be on the lookout for a survey so you can kind of share your availability. Like, I'm never available in the afternoons, don't even try, or whatever. But did anybody have any feedback on just generally the meeting, cadence we've been doing, the timing? If you'd like to do something in person periodically, anything on that, just while we have a couple minutes.
I personally love being in person. So it would be difficult to do that every month. I'm sure for people's schedules, but I would love to periodically have in-person meetings. I know they're logistically more difficult, but I think they're much more authentic.
Hi, this is John. I think we ought to do it at least twice a year. I mean, that would be the minimum I would recommend. I think it's a good thing to get together, and talk to somebody face to face.
Okay.
I agree with that. This is Greg. I am an advocate of meeting in person. So quarterly or even more often than that, I'm in support of that.
Yeah, and I see Sharon's note, 90 minutes is tricky. Also in person can be tricky. I think one of the considerations Carol and I had with discussion with Ben was just, is there a way to do hybrid? I'm personally not a huge fan of hybrid, but I feel like the folks virtually always miss out, and like there's side conversations you can't hear, whatever. But it's I guess somewhat valuable if you just can't be in person. So we would consider, how do we incorporate that so if someone can't be in person, they can still participate. So we will be cognizant of that. But to I think it was John's point, if we just do them twice a year in person or something like that, and people can't make it, they still would be able to meet their required attendance. It's always tricky trying to get a large group of people together in person or even virtually. So any other just feedback?
Yeah, that's the tough thing for me on Wednesdays. I have a standing 10 a.m. meeting in Greensboro every Wednesday. So I usually have to kind of cut out early, or if there's and stuff.
Yep. And I think as the composition of the committee changes, Brandon, like maybe last year, whenever we polled, you were the only one that had a conflict, so we went with it, but now we have different people. And so maybe it's worth saying, like, is Thursday morning better or whatever? So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but as we have new people and a new year coming, we wanted to go ahead and see if we couldn't flesh out what does 2025 look like for this, the meeting. So Ben will be sending out a survey in the next couple weeks. And then if you can please complete that, we'll get it sorted out for the new year.
I'll just let everybody know, I'll also be sending our new members information about training requirements. New members are required to complete a couple trainings. They're pretty quick, and there's an online option for them, so it shouldn't be too much of a challenge for anybody, but just let people know that those are, I think we're expected to complete those by the end of the year. So.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I will hush for a little bit. And Ben, if you want to take over and talk about the bicycle friendly community application.
Yeah, sure. I will share my screen here. And I'll kind of show everybody the report card from the last time we submitted our bicycle friendly application. We were awarded bronze status and from 2021 through 2025. And we're looking at resubmitting an application. It is due June 2025. for another 4 years or 5 years. And this is our report card from the last time we submitted, and it goes through what is needed to move up a notch into the silver category. So some of these I think are worth the committee looking into, possibly making some recommendations for some of the lower hanging fruit, some of the policy changes that could be made. Some of these are going to be much longer term commitments, like some of the bicycle facilities. Building out that network is going to be a longer term thing, but certainly some other aspects of this report card the committee could weigh in on and help us make some recommendations.
I like your night better than mine. Okay. I think that was background noise.
Okay.
I would, yeah, thank you, Ben. Somewhat. Okay, good. I think better. Only thing I would add to this is if we're going to be working this application soon, and the reality is how we look right now today, November 2024, is pretty much a lot of what the application is going to be based on, because there's not a ton of these things you can just change instantly. It's not to say you can't, but like Ben, if you scroll up a little bit to the top, I think we don't have any bicycle friendly universities, which is very unfortunate since we have 5 colleges here. Bicycle friendly businesses, we had a couple. I know I was part of a work effort years ago to try to get more, but all that stuff's kind of hard to turn around. But it does give us ideas of like, maybe it doesn't apply for this application period, but if we could work in the next 3 years to try to get 3 of our colleges and universities on to, because they have to do their own process of submitting an application. I don't think it's too tedious, but all that to say, I think we can definitely provide input and help push for the strongest application possible right now, but it could also inform us on what type of work efforts we should have for the next couple of years, so that the next time we apply, we actually have measurable improvements that would help us get up to the silver level. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Amy. I think a lot of these are things the committee could reach out to, especially for the universities and the businesses, try to engage them and try to get our numbers up. But we're also going to, as a department, take a deep dive into what kind of our priorities are and what kind of we want to pursue, because a lot of these kind of mesh with our existing plans underway. If you see the bottom here, Vision Zero talks about Vision Zero, and we're working on a safety action plan now. And as part of that, there will be a goal to eventually get to 0 fatalities. So that's something that is going to be coming, but we're kind of try to take a deeper dive and look at some of these areas that we could knock out pretty quickly, we think. And also, this application is not due till June, so we have a little bit of time. I'll be taking a deep dive into what data was submitted last time to make sure that it's updated with our current where we're at currently. So
yeah, I was trying to find that report card. I know it's just on the regular internet. Hold on,
I can send it out to everybody, and I'll also send people some information on the upcoming application. I can even send like the draft application or the file for that. So
I'd
So
add in,
Thank you.
sorry. Yeah, so Michael and I had several meetings with Downtown Partnership, Visit Winston-Salem. There was a push to get especially the local downtown hotels, businesses, attractions involved. I'm attending a meeting today at Benton Convention Center, and I was thinking, oh, I should ride up there, but I don't think there's anywhere for me to put my bike and helmet easily there. The application is long, and there is a cost to apply. There is a separate designation for universities. There's a separate application and designation for businesses. So they have to submit their own application and be certified on the Bike League website in order to count. The only business that was really interested and a strong proponent was Camino. And Carrie got really excited about it, but then the time and process of the application was daunting for her. But all that to say, it is certainly worth re-engaging Downtown Partnership and Visit Winston-Salem. They've had a complete staffing turnover there. You can get in front of the Attractions Committee, the Restaurant Roundtable, the Safety Commission under Downtown Partnership. Jason's certainly a big proponent of this. And perhaps if you start now, you might be able to get, and I say you, we, because it would take a group effort to attend all of these different committees. They do happen during the day, typically in the morning hours. But to get time on those agendas, pop in, I think they're only quarterly. So again, I just don't know what the timing of that is based on the application deadline for us and for them. But those are valuable resources, and maybe they'd get involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know too. When
I
we
know
started,
you've done it. You've been there too. Yeah.
yeah, maybe 8 years ago, I think
Yep.
Jose was involved too. We tried to get some more businesses on, and you know, the city has grown and changed a lot, and maybe there's more interest in getting these kinds of designations and whatnot. And this committee is involved in ways that, you know, wasn't 10 years ago. So
Sure.
I think it's just something for us to consider where we want to push. I could see, shout out to Donna, this being something that the partnership, what's the name of our
Yep.
group? Advocacy and Partnership Group could kind of spearhead and say, how can we start meeting with people to at least make sure they know about the bicycle friendly community, bicycle friendly university, bicycle friendly business designations, and maybe even provide some kind of assistance with them. Like if there's something we can do to help with the application, that's not too heavy of a lift, just giving that volunteer support. I think it's just a good thing to kind of be looking at. So
yeah, great article. I don't know if you guys saw this past, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, because I don't think I looked at news last week, but the airport, IAD in Washington, has free bike parking now. So you can ride your bike to the airport. There's free locked bike storage to encourage all kinds of mobility and safety and everything in getting to that airport. So really cool things happening. And Ben and I have been chatting back and forth some about Greensboro Parks and Rec and how they've really brought tons of community members together and added some of these features as they've extended their greenway. So we've got examples now to draw from too that weren't here. Definitely a lot more news around this over the past 3 years. So the impetus is there for sure.
awesome. So yeah, I did put the link in the chat, and we'll probably talk about this in the new year as Ben works on the application. But really definitely stuff that kind of makes you think, looking at the left side there, like, you know, bike program staff to population. I've said we needed a lot more staff for a while, but maybe that's something that this committee wants to recommend, is that we put more staff behind bicycle pedestrian kind of things. Or we don't really have good bike month and bike to work events. They're acceptable, but they're not good. Could we work with more community partners to encourage that kind of stuff? So maybe it'll help generate some ideas. But anything else on this topic? If not, Ben,
that's it for me. Yeah, I'll dive into our micromobility update. Good news on that front. No really like huge updates, but Lime introduced 2 new types of vehicles. They introduced e-bikes, and then they introduced a sit-down scooter into Winston-Salem. And those kind of are designed to have a little bit more storage options for people, maybe a little more suitable for grocery trips or errands or longer trips. And Lime's really happy with the demand they've been seeing in the ridership. They think that things are going really well. So I think, it's definitely great to have them back in the city doing well and have that option for people back. So just kind of all around good news on that front. So.
And do we have any other applications pending for any other providers?
We don't. We're not accepting applications right now. Probably, I don't know when we're going to open that back up again. Maybe next fall. But I think the size of Winston-Salem are kind of set up. It works better for one operator, kind of, just because the demand's not really there for two. So I think it's going to be. We're definitely going to open it up in the future just to have give people a chance to apply. Whether we get anyone new is kind of up in the air, I think.
Hey, Ben, I'm just curious, where's the e-bike station? I haven't seen it.
They're dockless, so they're not stationed anywhere. They operate just like the scooters. And there's actually there's much fewer of the e-bikes than the scooters. So you might kind of be hard pressed to find them. But yeah, I've seen a few downtown and elsewhere, so.
I'll look for them.
Sorry to kind of bring this vibe, but I've been taking pictures of the Lime scooters and bikes just straight up blocking intersections recently because people have just been getting so angry about them. And I want to avoid that sentiment as much as possible because it's hard enough for us. Do you know who I can talk to and send those photos? Because I've been reporting it to Lime and moving the bikes and scooters when it occurs. I was just asking to basically stem this before people get real mad and start going on Reddit and all the places and getting angry about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can send them to me and continue to send them to Lime. I'm kind of the main point of contact. But yeah, I hear that frustration. That's, like the main downside with this kind of model for dockless bikes and scooters is, where do they end up? Where do they fit into the urban fabric kind of? We have one on-street corral that's existing from our previous docked bike system that was in the city, Flow Bikes. That Lime's been. I've told them to try to prioritize that area just to get them off the sidewalks, but we're looking at possibly more on-street facilities to kind of take off some of the pressure for them being on the sidewalks.
Yeah, it's just one of those very important things because we know how the sentiment goes. The second they start seeing them on the streets, they're like, "Oh, all of them are like that." So I do my best to avoid that. I've been jokingly like, we should just get the cops to ticket them. And Lime would change that real quick. Income source, bam! Look at that. Give us the funding from those tickets. Thank you.
Well, you do wonder if there is some kind of recourse. I mean, my mind goes to like making the rider take a picture of where they left it, in order to finish their session or something, almost like your Amazon packages. They take a picture. Yeah, we left it on your porch. See, here's proof. But that would be a Lime requirement. And I don't know if because it's ultimately the users who are putting them in these places. It's not like they're moving there on their own overnight.
Exactly. Yes.
So somehow we have to make sure users know where they can and can't put it, and or are held accountable for when they do leave them in stupid places. That's why I thought the picture thing might work, because if 3 times they put them in a crappy spot, Lime could say you can no longer rent from us. Now, whether they would do that or not, I don't know. These are bigger bigger things. So I think you're right, to report them is best, because if the city ends up getting 30 reports that they're in a bad place, then maybe the city can come down on Lime to say, you guys need to do more education. You guys need to make sure you're checking them throughout the day. They should know where they are, right, Ben? They have geo.
They do, yeah, and they do already have a photo verification system set up. It's not foolproof, but I think kind of right now we're gonna, since they've kind of are still fairly new, we're gonna kind of start to get a little more strict on some of the parking, just because I think they kind of have been hesitant to fine riders who it's their first time riding or using the service. They're kind of hesitant to do that, to drive away some of their customers. But as they continue to operate, I think we're gonna start to be a little more stricter on the parking situation.
Great.
Yeah, I've approached it when I see people parking incorrectly, like, hey, people with wheelchairs come through here. I've actually seen people with wheelchairs not be able to get around it, and I've had to go over and get over and get it off the street, and they seem receptive to that as opposed to being like, you can't just park here. So
Right.
getting that is I've found pretty effective.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben,
Thank you, Brian.
how-
Latricia?
I have a question. I'm not a scooter rider. I'm not that balanced to even feel like I'm comfortable getting on a scooter. However, I just want to know, do they have included in the cost to ride a surcharge or some type of fee? And what I say is, if there's a fee that is attached to if the scooters aren't returned to a designated location, then, or just added period, and that way that could probably be something that would be beneficial for them to be more proactive to recovering their scooters, because there's an extra fee and maybe a return to the rider if it's returned at a designated location.
Yeah, there is kind of that system set up already with the areas where the scooters are not allowed to be parked. So like Wake Forest University, Old Salem, we have what are called geofences set up in those areas where if someone parks a scooter there, it'll keep charging them for as long as the scooter stays there if they try to end their ride there. So there, that is kind of, I think, kind of, Donna, what you're getting at is kind of that mechanism for enforcement.
But Ben, I don't know how
Thank you.
targeted that can be. I mean, can they say this part of the sidewalk is geofenced and 3 feet is acceptable, 3 feet down the way is acceptable? I don't think they have that.
It's so since it uses GPS, it's really not accurate enough to do that in an urban setting, especially with buildings kind of interfering with some of the signals. So that's where it gets pretty tricky. It's just not. It works better for a large area of town if you want to block off an area like that, but when you get down to individual sidewalks, it's pretty tricky.
I seems like I remember Spin did incentives, like discounted rates for future rides when they parked in certain areas, which, you know, versus a repercussion of parking in the wrong, but yeah, it's encouragement of parking in the right area. And also to that geofencing at Wake Forest, that explains why I've seen scooters literally laying on the side of University Parkway, like, you know, wheels in the street, handlebars in the grass across the street, because they just got to a point and they're like, oh, I'll just cross the road here and just drop it where nobody's going to pick it up and ride it from there. So, yeah, I don't know, I guess something, you know, that's a hard one, like we were just talking about, to kind of fine tune. But yeah, that's certainly, I've seen that more than once over there.
John, were you gonna add something?
Oh, yeah. Have we benchmarked with other communities of similar demographics, geography on how they handle accountability?
Yeah, it's similar to how we operate. We do have a work group kind of for North Carolina micromobility managers. We meet bi-monthly. So yeah, we're always kind of looking at what other communities are doing and trying to keep up with some of the best practices.
I was at the Bike Walk NC Summit 2 months ago in Chapel Hill, and they worked with Bike Durham as well and had a pretty good program down there. If that's something you want to dig into, I have the contacts for that.
Okay, yeah, be very interested.
Okay, great discussion. Yeah, definitely important element of the multimodal transportation system, but definitely somewhat still new and has its drawbacks that we need to, you know, work through. So appreciate your work on that, Ben. I think since we're right at 9:30, we'll just touch on quickly the consent agenda. Did anybody have anything specific from any of the work groups they wanted to call out to the group right now versus us just reading the consent agenda? I know the advocacy and partnership, we've been a little dormant and we'll probably pick back up in the new year. Any of the other groups want to share anything?
I'll share. So definitely having a lot of activity with the Safe Routes to School bike program and the NCC Ride for Life bike program in the high schools. It's been going good. A lot of new schools are getting involved. We have our first middle school starting today, which we've haven't been able to engage that population just because the size of the bikes and the what we have, and then the number of students in the middle school population is comparable to the high school. And just so yeah, we're kind of testing that out at Flat Rock Middle School the next couple weeks. So we're excited about that. Have also been communicating with Bike Walk and See about the friendly driver program, kind of adding to the local driver ed schools. They've been super appreciative of getting connected, and they weren't able to connect in October due to one of their members lived in Boone and was just impacted by the storms back in late September. But they're going to be at Mount Tabor and Parkland High School this month, and I'm going to join, just kind of sit in the class and just kind of observe how it goes. We're also trying to get involved at Reynolds High School, maybe even outside of their regular driver's ed, but just with the whole school community during like a club day or something. And we also had a teen road safety day at Carver High School, which was great. Those of you guys that know Luli Beckless and Karen Garman, they were the ones that spearheaded that. And it was just a great opportunity. A lot of organizations, different law enforcement came out there and just advocating and educating students, young drivers, about what's going on the roadways, a variety of things. So I have been a community mentioned Bike Walk and See. I think we do want to get them plugged in. I've mentioned, and kind of Carol's had conversations with them about coming and being a guest speaker. They are interested in that in future meetings. And I also met another lady who works for NCDOT, the railroads. So she does all the railroad education for the state, all 100 counties, one person. I was pretty amazed, but I spoke with her about maybe coming and being a guest speaker, because I think there was just a lot of things that I didn't even think about that. I didn't know about that. So it'd just be some good information for us to know as it relates to the railroads and the tracks that we see everywhere. So those are two things that are kind of on the list, but the two guest speakers has not been coordinated, but that's something Amy and Ben and Carol, we can all coordinate on that and get those people plugged in.
Yeah, that's great. That'd be really nice. I don't know if NCC is planning to do any kind of like year in review type work. I mean, Michael, you do so much in the community. I don't think people really realize how many events and activities you do, but it would be kind of neat. And maybe it's not that you should do it. Maybe you send a press release or something to the media outlets to say, this is the 5th place we've done these types of activities, and let the media pick it up and kind of promote this great work y'all are doing in the schools. I know from my experience, they're always eager to find something to cover on the news, especially something positive. So maybe it's just to say, hey, we're going to be at Reynolds High doing this thing. And I don't know how they do with filming and students and stuff, but you guys are doing great stuff. So appreciate it. Anything from the policy plan project team? I think Ned, you were on there. Greg, John. Oh, Tyler. I was like, who's Tyler? Tyler's a non-committee contributor.
Yeah.
So
I'll say a little bit. We collected signatures and the surveys were sent out, and in the process of compiling all of that, I think Carol wanted to have a complete package for us to review in December. Hopefully that happens, and try to get something out to the DOT later on. So that's the high level plan.
It's wonderful. I appreciate y'all keeping that going. I think that's a good initiative, and I was very pleasantly surprised at the very positive feedback you've gotten so far.
Yeah, a lot of people were very, very positive about trying to spruce up around Old Salem and make it a safer and more walkable and bikeable area.
Total aside, Ben, could you tell me the name of the gentleman who joined us a few months back asking for feedback on different intersections that could benefit from additional signaling and stuff?
Yeah, that was our traffic engineer here at DOT, Alex Stone was his name.
Yeah, I wanted to send him a message because I was recently, just as an aside, guys, going to the farmer's market, Cobblestone, there on Marshall and Salem, maybe. And that was one of the areas someone did recommended putting signaling there, and it came in very handy because there's, I mean, tons of traffic on a Saturday with the market, and I was able to press the button and go. And there was another intersection that's been completed recently, I think Main Street in Waughtown. And so just to say, things do happen, they do complete, and they make a big difference. So I was going to send him a message to say thank you. But the only other things I would mention real quick briefly is just there are more opportunities for input. There's the Winston-Salem Transit Authority Route Study Survey that's open through the 16th, which is this week. And then the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration rulemaking for pedestrian safe vehicle design. I think this one is so important just because, you know, as we get more and more technology in cars that can do self-driving, whatever technology, there's a big critique that they don't have good enough sensing of pedestrians. And so if we're going to automobiles and things out there, they need to be able to see and respond to a little kid that runs out into the road, or, you know, someone in a wheelchair that's lower to the ground or whatever. And I think that's part of what that gets to with maybe some additional things. So if you guys have time, please take those surveys this week. You should have gotten a link in your email a little while ago, but I can find them if you need me to resend it. But I think that's all. We've had jam-packed agenda. Does anybody else have any last minute topics or events they want to promote or anything? Okay, well, without any other feedback, we'll just go ahead and close the meeting. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you again next month on December 11th, 8:30.
I was going to say real quick,
day.
this is Greg. I was going to say real quickly that the multi-use path construction has come along pretty good. So folks might want to go out and take a peek at that. It's basically at least concrete is on the ground from Brookstown all the way over to Peters Creek Parkway. So we have a pretty long segment there, and the other little part from Peters Creek over to 4th Street is under construction. So we're not that far away from having a complete project here. So I would just encourage people to go take a peek at our new path because it's coming along very nicely, and I think it's going to be a real nice facility once they get all the landscaping and benches and lighting all installed and so forth. So I'm tickled about what I see so far.
That's over 10 years in the making. So yeah, definitely exciting.
Hey, real quick, is the part that was damaged, Ben, underneath the trestle on the Salem Creek Parkway, is that reopened, or do you have any updates on that?
On the Salem Creek Greenway?
Yeah, it was closed. Their section was closed because there was like a dip in the
Yeah, it was because of a water main break. And it should be, I just spoke with the construction crew out there last Friday, and they said they were cleaning up and just repaving. It should be open by now, I would think, but I haven't checked to verify that. So.
No worries. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. All right, good stuff. Appreciate everybody. You guys take care, and we'll see you again next month.
Okay. Thanks, Amy.
See everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Amy.
Have a good day.
Great work, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.